there's a lot that can be said about fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of which being, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I do not want to fight that guy because Shavkat, he has no vices, okay? He is not coming home from a long day of training and he's not playing video games. He's not sitting back on the couch and turning on Smiling Friends. That is not what he's doing. He's going home, he's slaughtering one of the many animals he owns with a knife, and then he is cooking it under a fire that he built himself. And that is how he spends his day to day. And that is just, no, okay? I use an air fryer. All right, that is all you need to know to separate us into two different categories of people because he does not give a fuck. All right, he does not give a fuck. He is a stone cold killer, and I don't want any part of that. All right, and but with that being said, it does seem like Shavkat is up next for the title. They offered him Belal Muhammad at UFC 307, but interestingly enough, Belal turned it down. It was a pretty quick turnaround, though, so I get it. But, it's safe to say he'll probably be fighting for the title. And, it's safe to say there's a lot of hype around the guy. He's 18-0 with 18 finishes. He's the first guy to ever finish Wonderboy on the ground with a submission. The Joff Neal fight was absolutely insane. And he is a master of sport in Sambo. So pretty much, in terms of being fucked in an MMA fight, he is pretty much that to more or less everybody. But, with that being said, I do think that against Belal Muhammad, I think Shavkat's got some problems. Okay, I think Shavkat has a big problem. And it's not just that he's fighting Belal. I think that, look, Belal Muhammad, he's grown on me a lot. Okay, I didn't respect him for the longest time, but clearly all the work he's put in with Team Khabib has really paid off. His grappling style, to me, it essentially is the meta of grappling in MMA. It's something I talked about in my last video, and I think Shavkat, for all the things he is so good at, he does have a problem. He does have a hole in his game, believe it or not. When you look at Shavkat's game, I think there are two things in particular that he does exceptionally well. One of which being is his top pressure when he gets you on the ground. His top pressure is brutal. He gives you zero space to work, zero space to operate. He's constantly chest to chest with you. If you get your back to the fence and try to work yourself up, he gets higher than you. You're always carrying his weight, and he is just waiting to give it an opportunity to go for a submission. He's always looking for darces, anaconda chokes. You give him your back at all, even if he doesn't have an amazing angle on it, he's sinking in a rear naked choke, and he'll even jump on arm-in guillotines, which we know for some guys, those are just borderline impossible to finish, but not for Shavkat. And number two, his striking is very good and very dangerous. A lot of people, they look at the Joff Neal fight and they say he doesn't have great head movement. They say Shavkat keeps his head up in the air and he's pretty hittable, which, okay, that is true, but the thing about Shavkat is he legitimately does have decent head movement. He has good distance management. When it comes to that matchup in particular, the reason why Shavkat was getting tagged as much as he did was he was 100% on offense. He was always in Joff's face, constantly trying to pepper him with shots, just standing right in front of him the entire time. And again, he had moments of very good slipping, very good head movement, very good counters, but if you're going to always be standing in front of your opponent, just always on offense, yeah, you're going to leave yourself open, but honestly, with Shavkat, I think that's just a give or take with his style. He wants to grind you out. He knows he can last longer than you. He knows he can tough it out more than you. And I mean, when it comes to that fight, yeah, that's exactly what happened. He's so good at standing just barely outside of range, landing good, accurate, short shots, constantly throwing knees to the body, spinning back kicks, spinning wheel kicks, just grinding you out in the clinch. And again, he pretty much broke Joff Neal. That's essentially what happened in that fight. Rocked him with a short, accurate punch right on the chin. Just absolutely brutalized him in the clinch, throwing vicious elbows right inside. He took his back standing, and from right here, Joff, he just kind of relaxed. He thought he was safe here. He wasn't. Shavkat sinks in the choke, and then that was it. He kind of broke him. That's pretty much what happened. And what makes that all the more impressive is, again, Shavkat ate some serious bombs in that fight. He got rocked really bad on multiple occasions, but just hung in there, never took his foot off the gas pedal, and just went at him the entire time. And that is why he is such a terrifying individual. But with that all being said, as I alluded to prior, I do think Shavkat at the elite level does have some deficiencies. And it comes from the fact that, again, one of his best attributes is his top pressure and his submission game on the ground. But those only really come into play when you can take your opponent down. And wrestling, that is Shavkat's, that is the weakest aspect of his game by far, and there's no question there. I think for most people, the only exposure they've seen of Sambo in MMA is Team Khabib, but what they don't realize is guys like Umar, Islam, and Khabib, they've worked post their Sambo career to really become high-level wrestlers. But when you look at the pure skill set that Sambo breeds, wrestling is not the best aspect of that. It just isn't. I would say judo and throws are primarily what Sambo athletes use for takedowns, and that's kind of what Shavkat does pretty much. He loves working in the clinch, he likes grabbing body locks and then going for throws or trips. The problem is, though, in Sambo you have a gi jacket on, and what the gi jacket allows you to do is manipulate your opponent. When you can grab their clothing, you can twist them and maneuver them in specific ways to really set up throws and trips well. But lose the gi jacket and you're kind of just doing Greco-Roman wrestling now, which it's just harder to pull off. And Shavkat has had issues taking down smaller, less skilled opponents with these throws. I mean, he just has. Now, of course, though, it's not that Shavkat's wrestling is bad by any means. He did hit a single leg against Stephen Thompson to get him down, but it did not come easy. Primarily during that fight, he was looking to work from the clinch, and he just really couldn't set anything up. And it was against the guy who, was 42 years old, definitely not in his prime, who had also been wrestle-fucked by Gilbert Burns and Belal Muhammad prior to that. And this is where I kind of start getting worried for Shavkat a bit when you match him up against somebody like Belal Muhammad. Shavkat could not take Geoff Neal down. He tried, was never able to complete any takedowns because looking for clinch throws and trips against really small, compact, bulky fighters, that is not easy. And Belal Muhammad, I mean, just look at the guy. He's sauced out of his mind, in my opinion. He's jacked. And I think one of the best aspects of his game is his takedown defense. His takedown defense is insane. And I don't think Shavkat's going to be able to take him down. I just don't. It's not to say that fight is unwinnable for Shavkat. His striking, that's going to be a problem for anybody. But again, an area where he would have a massive advantage against Belal is in his top pressure, in his submissions. But how is he ever going to get there against a guy with amazing takedown defense? I mean, Shavkat, he's not hitting any single legs on Belal. He's not hitting any double legs. He's going to have to rely on his clinch takedowns, and the odds of him really having success in that area, given the fact that in Belal's corner is Team Khabib, guys who come from this Sambo background, guys with extensive knowledge in judo and throws, and I think that's a massive, massive problem for Shavkat. Now, I want to be fair, Leon Edwards did have a moment where from the clinch he was able to off-balance Belal, get him down, and secure a takedown, and end up in this position, which is very dominant. But, look, two things. One, Leon Edwards used a lot of strength and a lot of explosiveness in this area to really off-balance him. And two, the one reason he was able to complete this takedown, the one thing that allowed him to fully secure it was just the fact that Belal did not get this wizard deep enough. Because he didn't, he had to give up his back, scramble to the fence. So look, can Shavkat get deep on some takedowns potentially? Can he make things very interesting? Yes, of course. Can he win this fight? He can win this fight. Of course he can. He is very, very dangerous. But one of the best aspects of his game is his grappling and is his top pressure. But he is not the wrestler that Belal Muhammad is. And I don't think he's going to be able to take Belal down. And I think that's a problem.